ready whenever you are. Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Village of Forest Park regular Village Council meeting will come to order. This is our Monday, July 25th, 2022 meeting. Please put your phones on vibrate. We begin our meetings with Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Burns,
Here.
Commissioner Maxim,
Here.
Commissioner Nero, Commissioner Vogt,
Here.
Mayor Hoskins.
Here. Okay, Commissioners, first up is approval of the minutes from the July 11th, 2022 Village Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxham. Discussion on the minutes. There's none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, next is approval of the minutes from the closed session meeting on July 11th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I think it's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Discussion. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt. Aye. Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Public comment.
Mayor, I have one public comment that was emailed to me from Tom Kovac. He wrote, "I'm expressing my strong opposition to the reappointment of Tim Gillian, the retired village administrator, to the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. Mr. Gillian's role in the apparent deceit that has been identified regarding the approval and execution and enforcement of the original Farmington Foods PUD in December 2015 and the later April 2021 amendment of such disqualifies him for any position involving the government of the Village of Forest Park. My attempt to provide documentation regarding such to the Village Council in its April 2021 consideration of the PUD amendment was suppressed. 2 folders of documentation as to what took place and the true history of Farmington and its true plans were suppressed by the then Plan Commission Chairman Paul Barbahan. As you have been made well aware by me, Farmington activity, especially late at night, has been of great harm and nuisance to myself and my house guests. Members of the Village Council have a duty to oversee the conduct of village officials, such as the village administrator. This is especially true with regard to the mayor's office concerning that office. It is also especially true under the commission form of government for the Commissioner of Public Health and Safety, currently Maria Maxham, previously Joe Burns, with regard to the conduct of the Director of Public Health and Safety, Steve Glinke. Commissioners have personal supervisory authority and responsibility for the departments which they head and are not merely legislators. They are responsible for the conduct of officials and staff for their respective departments. Tom Kovac.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, there are no formal communications tonight. We have one department report. There was a police department report. Any comment or discussion on the police department report? Okay, if not, we are ready for bills by resolution. Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Forest Park, Cook County, Illinois, that we dispense with the reading of the individual bills inasmuch as each department head has approved and signed bills in the following aggregate amount for their respective departments. Refunds and allocations, $3,124.33. Public Affairs, $10,353.86. Police Department, $1,663.56. Community Center, $549.45. Accounts and Finance Clerk's Office, $44,616.43. Accounts and Finance Fire Department, $254,648.50. Department of Health and Safety, $6,780. Street Department, $23,538.48. Public Property, $51,702.96. Seizure, $1,182. Federal Customs, $23,907.29. Police Vehicle Replacement, $13,358.45. TIF, $63,694.25. VIP, $22,659.40. Water Department, $397,836.13, for a total of $919,615.09.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the resolution on the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-62-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, there is no unfinished business on tonight's agenda. First item under new business is an ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2023 appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2022, ending April 30th, 2023 for the village. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxham. Discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-30-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is an ordinance waiving bid and authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for installation of alarm equipment and monitoring services by and between Illinois Alarm Service Incorporated and the Village of Forest Park. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Discussion?
I have a question on this. I know that it says in the resolution, we have to have a 4/5 vote of all council members because we're waiving bid.
Mhm.
So does that mean we have to wait till Ryan's here?
We could have a unanimous vote here tonight, and that would,
Okay, so even though it says,
if everyone votes
gotcha,
unanimous.
gotcha.
I just wanted to comment really quickly. When this issue came to my attention, I talked to Moses about it, and we were just trying to correct sort of a glitch in the system that happened once we switched over to the consolidated alarm system. So the alarm in a lot of our buildings would trip, but someone would physically have to like call it into the firehouse or the police department. And so this is sort of fixing that error so that they're actually alerted when the alarm trips. And it's obviously cheaper since we're already Illinois Alarm infrastructure throughout the building to just add these, few changes to kind of bring it up to speed. So yeah, it's obviously the most cost effective at this time, and it takes care of that glitch. So it's safer, of course, for everybody.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-31-22.
Commissioners, we're going to skip item C. The ordinance specific to that item was not ready for tonight's meeting. So moving to item D, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the reappointment of Tim Gillen to the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners for a term expiring April 30, 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, Commissioners, next item is a resolution confirming the appointments to the members of the Fire and Police Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Commissioners, this simply clarifies the terms of each of the appointees. I said this simply clarifies the terms and the expiring date of each appointee's term. There's really no substantive. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R 63-22.
Commissioners, next item is a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the United States Army Reserve Real Property Exchange for the United States Armed Forces Reserve Center located in Forest Park at 7402 Roosevelt Road. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? Okay, I'll say a few words. Commissioners, at a meeting maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit more than a month ago, I mentioned that our police department had a verbal discussion with some men who were seen moving trucks and equipment out of the Armed Forces Reserve Center. We subsequently learned that it was being vacated by the Army Reserve. And through one of our representatives in Washington, D.C., we were put in contact with officials from the Army Reserve. They invited the village to participate in what they called an industry day, which is the equivalent of a pre-bid conference. And that was held at Fort Sheridan, which is in Lake County. And essentially, they explained to the village and the other participants at this industry day that under a system they have known as the Real Property Exchange, that any entity capable of undertaking a certain project, in this case, the project was the installation of a drainage system at Fort Sheridan and Highwood, Illinois, could get possession and ownership of the 6.5 acre Army Reserve site in the village of Forest Park. Now, this village for some time has had an interest in acquiring that property. In 2012, I believe, the village received a grant from the state of Illinois, the Department of Commerce, and Economic Opportunity to do a planning study for what could happen if the village were able to acquire that piece of property. So that report was prepared by a consultant known as Wills, Burke and Kelsey, and it sat on the shelf for several years. And then we're back here at this point where we've received the Army's invitation to submit a proposal. So before the council tonight is a resolution that would authorize submission of the proposal. We discussed this in closed session. There were some pros and cons of potentially acquiring the property. Initially, these proposals would have been due July 16th. The Army Reserve granted an extension to August the 1st. They would not grant any further extensions. There are some questions about the need to do more environmental due diligence. There are concerns about what may be found on the property. We have some indication that there are already, maybe some asbestos and lead paint in the existing building. This is a 76,000 square foot building. It's a 6.5 acre piece of property. And so under this proposed resolution, which would be non-binding on the village, it would essentially authorize us to submit an application, but we would not be paying anything. We'd simply be submitting an application that I believe if the Army had a favorable reaction to the application, that could be the beginning of negotiations. So that's what I have to say about this. The chair will open up the floor for any further comment from the commissioners.
I believe some asbestos is 70% on the first floor and 70% on the second floor of that building at 7402 Roosevelt Road. Am I correct? So that's 70% asbestos on the first and second floor, plus they have a room that contains lead. Now, all of that stuff would have to be removed, and it would have to be removed at the village's cost if we were going to do something with the property. So we'll add that on to the cost of the property, which I don't know where we're going to get the funding and where we're going to pay the interest on the funding that we're going to get. Let me remind people here that our bond rating was dropped in 2021 to a B3A, which is the second time this has been dropped, and it's the lowest it's been since last 15, 20 years. We are not getting an increase to up our bond rating. So I don't know where we're going to go for this money. And if we're going to sign letters of agreement and stuff like that, we're going to be putting us in a hole deeper than we are right now. So that's my feeling.
Is there any further comment or discussion? Commissioner Maxim.
Okay. I guess I kind of want to start with a question, which we may not have the answer to. Do you know how much approximately we've spent so far in engineering and legal fees on this?
Well, since the time we found out about this in June, I have not asked for an accounting of the number of hours that the lawyers spent reviewing this notice of availability. Brian, about how long did it take for you to do this application?
2 hours, but then it took time. Stuff with the village.
Okay, so it costs some money, Commissioner Maxim.
It costs what? I'm sorry.
Some money. I don't have an accounting on exactly what they're going to bill us for the work over the last month or 5 weeks since we found out about
Okay.
this.
I guess my fear and what I believe is that it's a pretty fairly substantial amount so far, right? Like we have all these documents here that have been put together. The application is several hundred pages long. This presentation that was in the packet, which I don't know who put that together. I found it to be honestly a little bit insulting because it was like this pitch in favor of this project when at the last report we had seen that CBEL put together, someone referred to it as like a Stephen King novel because it showed so many horrific things on the Roosevelt Road property. And I feel like it was a little disingenuous to put the proposal or, this thing into the packet tonight. I think that doesn't really represent the true story of what we're looking at. The village is projected to end fiscal year 2023 with a deficit of more than $1.82 million. Not only do we not have the time to do due diligence, we don't have the money. We asked the Army for a meaningful extension and we were refused. We don't even have an appraisal on this property. We have this like down and dirty estimate that we put together by multiplying like a cost per square foot times how many square feet it was. And that's not something we can use to make decisions on. Not to mention the fact this land is really, really dirty. Okay, Joe, I don't know if your numbers were right. In the last report we got, it was 53,300 square feet of assumed asbestos containing floor tiles and mastic throughout the property. I don't know, that's a lot, 53,300, okay? In addition to that, there's lead paint. There's an underground oil tank that may have contaminated the ground, a vehicle wash rack that was removed with no soil sampling done, a vehicle maintenance area that may have contributed to contamination, a disintegrated gasoline tank and generator that were removed, an area used as a pistol range that may have leaked lead into the soil, but we don't know, a gas station nearby that has a leaking underground storage tank, and the property to the west was a torpedo manufacturer, which has engineering controls and on-site groundwater use restrictions right now, and possibly other contaminants that could affect our property. And all of these are recognized environmental conditions at the site according to True North Consultants. And as we know from the Altenheim, there might be other things that we don't even know about yet. And we don't have the time or the money to do the due diligence on this. We've already spent a lot on engineering and legal. How much more are we going to spend before we decide enough is enough and we need to cut our losses? We can't keep pouring money we don't have into this project that is based on this piece of land that we really know nothing about right now. I think it's a really great location. I think it sounds really great. And I think it's this beautiful, beautiful fantasy. Like I see it, I can picture this municipal complex there, right? Where everyone's there and we have this great training facility for the cops. Like it's wonderful, it's beautiful, but we can't vote or make decisions based on a fantasy. We have to use facts and we have to do what's fiscally responsible. And our village is not in a financial position to take a gamble this big. Thank you.
Any further comment? Commissioner Vogt.
I think one of the first things and how I've been trying to approach this is we need to figure out what discussion we're having and which questions we're asking, because depending on what those are, we're going to get different answers. I think one of the questions is, do we even want this property? So you have to answer that question for yourself before I suppose you can answer the others. Like, do we continue with this real property exchange plan? Do we not? And as we start to ask ourselves those questions, I think it gets a little bit easier to have this discussion. The village has invested countless hours of staff and stakeholder time and money over decades because they see the value of this property and have said again and again and again in documents, in the comprehensive plan, in the local paper, everyone sees the value of the village having this property. Now, tonight, we are not closing on our new house. We're not signing on the dotted line and committing these monies without due diligence. Unfortunately, this is not an ideal proposal, the real property exchange. And if we read through the application that was provided to us in the commissioner's office, they outlined the fact that what the Army was proposing was not equivalent to this property. And so in that application, they have listed what we believe the value to be at this time, and they have removed all of those unknown costs. The estimate to remove the asbestos, which our engineer said was in good shape, and you don't have to immediately remediate asbestos tile if it's in good shape. You have to remove it immediately if it's cracked, if it's crumbling, if it's dangerous. So right now, he said it was in good shape. But their estimate for that removal was around $220,000. The lead paint room was around $10,000. That is all removed from this proposal's total that they are suggesting we offer for this real property exchange. Again, I will say it is not ideal, but I do see the value in this land and its potential. And I think before we get to the point where we are signing on the dotted line, we will have done our due diligence. Unfortunately, the deadline is August 1st. And if we want to move forward, show our interest in this property and give a good faith effort of what we're comfortable with, we have to submit this application now. If for some reason they actually agree to it, we will do our due diligence before we do sign on the dotted line. We will do the environmental phase 2. We will hopefully get a decent appraisal of the land and its value. I don't recommend or think any of us should just be agreeing to something arbitrary without that due diligence. But this tonight is saying, this is the opportunity we have right now. It may not come again, and we should do what we're comfortable with. And the ordinance or the resolution also does say that it is non-binding and the village will not move forward spending any monies until it has been agreed to by the council. So to me, this is just saying, yeah, let's move forward because we see the value in the village having this property. Can I respond?
Well, I just want to echo, I do want to echo with what Commissioner Vogt just said. You know, this came together fairly quickly. And I wish we could have got, another extension. We found out about this in June. The original deadline was July 16th. They gave us a 2-week extension. During that time, our engineer and our village administrator had a series of communications with the Army Corps of Reserves and had some advocacy from Senator Durbin's office in terms of, clarifying certain questions that we had. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers did show a value, for the work that they want done at Fort Sheridan. We disagreed with that value. And what we're proposing to do is something substantially less than what the Army Corps of Engineers originally asked for, like maybe a sixth of the value without going into, dollar amounts. And even in here, I'm looking at an email where our engineer says we're showing a discrepancy between the value of 7402 Roosevelt and the value of the improvements at Fort Sheridan. How would you like us to present a scope of modification to construct a portion of Fort Sheridan? And then the person on the other end essentially says, we're aware of the difference in costs. We're optimistic that the actual costs of Fort Sheridan will be close to the Forest Park valuation. If it is not, we can look for ways to reduce costs during the design process. So what I see this essentially doing is submission of the application could essentially be the start of negotiations. But at the same time, council has prepared a resolution that does not bind the village. It simply authorizes the submission of an application. Now, maybe the little PowerPoint was a little hokey. I get that. But that doesn't destroy the merits of seeking to acquire the building. The village was interested in that property a long time ago, a long time before, someone put together a PowerPoint whose wording, may have been not to your liking.
Well,
In terms
Mayor,
of, I'm not finished. In terms of the soil testing, they write to us that there's plenty of time to do soil testing if needed. When we got the grant to knock down the Altenheim buildings, first of all, a lot of people didn't think we would get that, number one. And yes, we found some surprises and we addressed those. The underground storage tank at the Altenheim, that was removed. It cost a little bit of extra, but it's ultimately going to be in our interests, and it's going to be a great project when we see it through. We have reached out to our legislative leaders in regards to the opportunity to acquire this building, and they show a tremendous amount of support. So if there were further costs to remediate, given the fact that there's been this large infrastructure bill that was passed, what about, I don't know, 8 months ago or so, in November or December of 2022, we might be able to find some funding there. As soon as I brought this up with the chief of staff of one of our legislative leaders recently, that person said, wow, will Forest Park need any grant money to help you with this project? And I said, we're not there yet. We're looking at submitting an application. That's where we are. And along with this application, no money is being exchanged. We're not putting down a dime right now. All we're doing is submitting an application. and we can walk at any time. Is that correct, counsel?
Based on my understanding, yes.
Commissioner Maxwell?
Well, we can't walk without spending a dime because we've already spent many dimes on this and even, to proceed with any further questions to like engineering or legal is going to cost us more money. And we don't even know, you just said, you don't even know how much we've spent on this yet. Second, my objection to this is not based on this, PowerPoint and those aren't my arguments aren't because the PowerPoint sucks, right? It's because there's so many other things going on here. I feel like even to do the due diligence, right? So what this is essentially doing is buying us the time that we asked for originally. And the Army told us, no, we're not giving an extension. So this is buying us the time to do the due diligence. We can't even afford that, you guys. We're not sitting here, with like loaded pockets full of money to spend on things. We do not have the money. We're, fiscal, like I already said, fiscal year 2023, we're going to end in, we're projected to end $1.83 million. And, I feel like, yeah, Commissioner Voigt, you said that over the years, the village spends money on lots of things to investigate things, to look at options, whatever. But with this project, we've never even talked about when do we say enough is enough? What is our cap? When are we going to say we've spent too much money and we have to walk away? When do we cut our losses? I feel like this is a big, dirty piece of property. And how much more money are we going to spend to decide if we want to take over this big mess of a piece of land?
Commissioner Burns?
I just, we started comparing now Fort Sheridan and Roosevelt Road. Well, let me say what our engineer put down on this. Asbestos, 533K to 1.6 million guesstimate. Lead paint unknown, soil conditions unknown, conditions of parking area, sewer system and utilities unknown. Value of the property at 7402 Roosevelt, 4.3 million to 5.1 million. Deductions, 500,000 to 2 million. Offer 2.2 million to 4.5 million. Now we'll go over to Fort Sheridan. Assuming cost to clean the soils, $5 to $7 million. If contaminated soils, add another $11 million.
Commissioner, you're reading stuff from our closed session, right? Are you reading the presentation from our closed session?
You brought it up. You brought up that
I didn't read from our closed session, Commissioner.
you brought up Fort Sheridan.
I didn't give amounts.
Bring up Fort Sheridan.
I did not give amounts that were included in our
Well,
closed
what
session.
is this, a secret that we can't tell the public what the costs were on this stuff?
It was a closed session discussion, Commissioner.
Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut about what the costs are. This is not a closed session thing with the show the asbestos, is it?
Without reading specifics of a presentation that was prepared for closed session,
Well, maybe.
we can
maybe-
have a discussion on the merits of the application to submit. I
But
already
you're bringing
indicated,
up all this stuff about how we got to this part. And this is July 25th, and this is only good until August 1st. This piece of paper is only good until August 1st, until the Army Corps of Engineers says you missed a deadline, and August 1st was the deadline. So now we're just going to hope that somebody picks this thing up and says, we'll give it to Forest Park first, right?
what I'm asking you to look at is a resolution authorizing submission of an application. It does not bind the village to do one thing. It doesn't bind the village to spend any money. However, if there's a favorable response to our application, then we would have the chance to discuss whether we wanted to do further due diligence. There's already been limited environmental testing at 7402, but we could do more in-depth testing, Commissioner, and that testing could be paid for out of the TIF because this property sits within the TIF. I get it that the asbestos number, the big number sounds daunting, but it doesn't all have to be done at once. I mean, the village has been looking at this piece of property at least since I was the first term commissioner. in 2008. Me and the former mayor and the former village administrator, one of the former village administrators, flew to DC to talk to our legislators about this piece of property. It never fell off of our radar. The 2012 report encouraged the village to stay engaged with the Army. That engagement, fell away probably during COVID and probably during the, personnel attrition. But, here we are at a point where we found out that the Army is vacating. Commissioners, I don't feel that strongly one way or another about it. But from an economic development standpoint, there are not that many times when a village our size has the opportunity to acquire a 6.5 acre piece of property. I don't have a specific end use, just during discussions, I've said to people, well, maybe it could be a future municipal complex, but maybe it could be something else. But there's the opportunity to do additional testing. And if we spend 100,000 or so and find out that it's very dirty, then it wouldn't make any sense to acquire it. But we may also find out that there are EPA grants or any other kind of grant that could help with the remediation. Like I said, we've made a number of calls, and our legislative leaders have been fairly supportive of our interest in the property. That's really all I can say. Commissioner.
I just wanted to add, you're right, there is some level of cost to doing business in government. And it's figuring out what level we're comfortable with, and if we think that it is down the road, it is something that will benefit the village. And, I feel like my role as being a commissioner is being able to weigh those unknowns and make the best judgments I have for the future of the village. And it's hard, and sometimes we're forced to make hard decisions. I will say that some of the concerns about the costs of remediation on Roosevelt, those can be paid for out of the TIF. And that TIF was created with the intention of, at some point in time, acquiring this property, or with the hopes of it. There's a Forest Park Review article. I'm pretty sure this one's from 2012, but I can look up the link. But it says, in a well-targeted efforts, the village government has been quietly attentive to Roosevelt, creating the village's first TIF back in '93 to help fund the tax generous Walmart store was a wise move. And creating a second TIF with an eye to the inevitable day when the U.S. Army will vacate its thoroughly underused reserve center on the street was visionary. The Army is still holding on, but the day will come when it sells off surplus property and the Roosevelt Road site will be on the list. Forest Park will be ready with the TIF, a thoughtful land use plan and effective lobbying of politicians to help steer this property into the village's hand. And it also says that the future of Roosevelt Road is bright, but it will take continued thoughtful, innovative planning and considerable patience. And I think it's important to bring that up because that is from so long ago. And this tonight, again, isn't buying the property blind without doing our due diligence. And a lot of that Roosevelt Road due diligence can be paid for with the TIF. So we do have the money. And we planned for that. That's why we created it. And tonight it just says, this is important and this might be our one step closer to acquiring that property. And I think it is worth, now that we have found a more apples to apples number. I know you were reading some older figures from our closed session, but the stuff from the True North portion of the application, July 14th, they sent their results to Mr. Emilio. That outlines the remediating costs here, but it also is very specific about what areas they think are best attended to at Fort Sheridan. So it's not just doing the whole project. They've specifically zeroed in what they think are the most manageable portions, and that will keep us in that number that we have agreed to in the application. So again, I don't think we're buying anything blind. I think due diligence is coming if they accept the proposal. And I think if not, we are on the record showing that we are interested in this property, as we have been for decades.
Any further comment? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns?
No.
Commissioner Maxim?
No.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins?
Aye. That motion does not carry for lack of a majority. Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioners, next item is resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a professional engineering services agreement for Phase 2 design engineering by Christopher Burke, engineering in the Village of Forest Park for the Wilcox Street Water Main and Resurfacing Project. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns?
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim?
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins?
Aye.
This is resolution R-64-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item is a resolution approving the specifications and authorizing bids for the Village of Forest Park 2022 Sidewalk Improvement Program. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns?
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim?
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins?
Aye.
This is resolution R-65-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the next item is a resolution approving specifications and authorizing the advertising of bids for the Village of Forest Park Van Buren Street multi-use path improvement project. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been seconded by Commissioner Maxham. Discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns?
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim?
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins?
Aye.
This is resolution R-66-22.
Commissioners, next item is a motion to approve the Exit Strategy Brewing Company entertainment license application. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Maxham. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Discussion?
I think we probably should be looking more at these entertainment licenses for bands, outside bands that can extend out until 9 o'clock at night for the outside. You know, we're running into problems where there's graduations and weddings and birthdays that are not of the norm where you would have just a band playing and playing outside. It's there for a purpose, and I think we should probably look at that.
I agree with Commissioner Burns. Commissioners, in this case, an application indicated that there would be outdoor music between 2 and 5. There was no specificity as to whether the outdoor music was acoustic or amplified. Strong suspicion is that it's amplified. This is an application for an event to occur during the second week of August. This council has a meeting scheduled for August the 8th. At that time, you know, the council could potentially entertain amending our ordinances so that live amplified music could be allowed outdoors until a reasonable ending hour, of course, that would allow, you know, this applicant to move forward with their event. I don't know if the council has strong feelings about that. I don't think we have to actually vote on this tonight. Open to further discussion.
I think you're looking at what, 7 or 8 outside the venues on this?
There are about 8 venues that could potentially have, outdoor music. We began allowing outdoor music about a year ago. I don't think there have been any complaints. We have had a couple of instances where someone had a ban without, having sought the license from the village. In that case, we gave them a gentle reminder. One person may have had a second reminder, but, given the fact that, hours aren't as late as they used to be, maybe the council could entertain allowing for amplified outdoor music. I'm not sure what the commissioner's pleasure is. Maybe we could withdraw this motion and reconsider it at our August 8th meeting. Would the movement have to withdraw the motion? Is that how it works? Okay, so whoever made the motion will have to withdraw their motion. Okay, so you'll withdraw your motion?
Yeah, I'd like to withdraw the motion.
Withdraw my second.
Thank you. Okay, so we can move on to item K, approval of request by Forest Park Public Library for use of the Grove for an October 1st kids concert event. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxham. Discussion? No discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, Commissioners, next item is approval of request by the Knights of Columbus to solicit funds at various intersections on September 16th and 17th of this year. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved, seconded. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, next item is approval of the 2022 casket races banner request by the Forest Park Chamber of Commerce. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? No discussion, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, next item is approval of a banner request by Sarah's Inn regarding Domestic Violence Action Month. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, the final item under regular business is the approval of a banner request by the Forest Park Theater regarding performances between August 5th and August 14th. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, we're at Commissioners' Reports. Commissioner Burns, what do you have for us?
Just the softball tournament this weekend coming up. No Gloves Nationals. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and the championship games is Sunday. You want to see some good softball, that's where you go. Great food too.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Maxam.
Yeah, tomorrow night is the Forest Park Arts Alliance Stoop Sessions, and it features 2 really amazing Forest Park teenagers. I've heard them play together and they're impressive. It's tomorrow at 7 at 1529 Elgin Avenue. Bring a chair or a blanket, and the rain date is Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Maxam. Commissioner Vogt.
Yeah. I would like to give a shout out to Director Zlewski for a great Groovin' in the Grove on Tuesday. We had a lot of fun. dancing with the community center students and staff and everybody that came out. It was a really nice night. So thank you. And I also had the privilege of attending a street naming ceremony for Mr. Isaac Beal at Marengo in Lexington. His service to our country and decades-long commitment to and service to Forest Park is inspiring. So it was really wonderful to be a part of that celebration and see all his family and friends that came out. And then it is that time of year again, where we are working to clean up all of the municipal parking lots. Deep cleaning, weeding, restriping, all of that. So keep an eye out for the signs. They'll be posted usually a full week in advance to let people know what day the lots are going to be closed. And then I obviously talk a lot about our trees. So I just wanted to give a quick update. Since we've completed our survey and received our urban forest management plan, we also now have gotten the link to the inventory so that the public can go ahead and look at all of the trees that were counted, the village-owned trees that were counted in town. That link is in our newsletter. It's on the website, and we can probably put it, I think, on our social media. But I encourage folks to check it out and go look up your address and what tree is in front of it and just kind of see all the different trees in town. And it's a fun little app. So I encourage you all to check it out.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogt. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye, we stand adjourned.
Oh, you're welcome.